Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Church in Fall River. The theme of this morning's service is our experience of and necessity of living with pain in various forms, both of loss and of physical pain, and of our finding ourselves in an environment that seems devoid of meaning, thinking about what the possibilities of meaning are that arise in such an environment. Are there any announcements this morning?
Speaking of meeting, of course, the miracles continues. Minor miracle this past Friday. I couldn't make it from an emergency I had to take care of, and Donald and Al and who else? Oh, you were there. I was there. Great. Then carried on. That was great. Of course, the miracles is a philosophy, depending on whether you believe what is said, the author is Jesus. You can believe that one or not, as you choose, but it is an interesting course. We have Richard Trudeau is with us, and Al Lugo, who's online, I believe, and we all discuss it, and it stirs up your thinking and nothing else.
I'm going to be the preacher next week, and the sermon is called In Praise of Skunk Cabbage. It's about signs of spring. And next week also we're going to have a brief welcome of new members, a brief a time when people who feel like signing the membership book will do so. We won't embarrass you. Some of you are not aware that we even have a concept of members. Members are people who feel enough connection to the church to take on the responsibility of making important decisions in the life of the church. That's what it means to be a member. Other than that, though, feel no obligation to become a member. If we see you, we're happy to see you. We'll accept your money and enjoy your company. You don't need to feel any need to be a member, but if you'd like to become a member, we're going to do that next week. I think that's all.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I am interested, do I just show up next week or I'll be here.
Very formal.
You just signed a book, the membership book.
I just wanted to make one note about the music today. Earlier in the week, Richard was sending a question about some music that I had played a year ago. was some woman that had been looking at old YouTube videos and sent a message saying, what was the prelude on, whatever it was, March something or whatever. And then she sent me the link to the service, so I could look at it, listen to it. And it immediately knew what it was, but I kind of figured in this order that kind of more or less. So I did a little bit of a search and found the music in question and sent the information to Richard, who sent it on to the lady. And so as a result of that, I'm playing all music from that book today, including the one that she asked about, which would be the
To begin our service, I'll light our chalice. Well, Richard, if you'd like to do it, I won't mind at all. The flame that we light at the beginning of our worship services binds us together as a single family, a compassionate family that welcomes all who enters these doors, that binds us to this community we live in and to the world beyond that. Our first hymn is number 12, A Life That Maketh All Things New. Let us share the covenant of this church. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with our God. Nancy will play our centering music. All who enter these doors are welcome to pursue their beliefs, their questions about belief as they will, in an atmosphere of trust and acceptance. And it is with that spirit that we also have the opportunity to share with one another our experiences of joys and concerns, joys and sorrows. If there are those who would like to share that, now is the time.
Yes, it's me again. The thing I wanted to share was a joy, and that is on YouTube, something called Proof of Heaven, written by Dr. Evan Alexander, MD. He's a was a neurosurgeon in Boston for many years. Then he suffered some kind of an ailment that typically only people who return from Israel get. I have returned from Israel 3 or 4 times. I haven't gotten it yet, so it's good. But he got it, and he died. And in that death state, he met a woman on the wings of a butterfly, who later, when he stopped being dead, turned out to be a sister he never knew he had. So if you're interested in that sort of story, now it's on YouTube. I watched it, it's at least a half hour long. This is a complete video that he had before. I had the chance to meet him when he was at the Unitarian Church in New Bedford about 4 or 5 years ago. Place was mobbed. People standing outside wouldn't get in. So do yourself a favor if you're interested in this sort of thing.
There. Got a notice last week that a fellow I was in high school with had died. His name was Tom Hicks. He was a year ahead of me at the Lockport Senior High School in Buffalo. And he played football and he was a wrestler. And his senior year, my junior year, we beat North Tonawanda for the first time in more than 50 years. And North Tonawanda was a bunch of tough Polacks, and Lockport was always sort of the not very good team, but we beat North Tonawanda. He was instrumental in that. I met him a few years ago at a class reunion. He had shown up. He went to Ithaca College, became a teacher, but became a professional boxer. And he was actually ranked light heavyweight for several years in the early 70s. Was known as the fighting teacher, and he became a school principal, but 15 years or more ago was diagnosed with pugilistic dementia. And he went downhill, and he died a couple of weeks ago. So this is the Tom Hicks.
Well, we always welcome tales from upstate New York in the winter. Some other time, perhaps, since I taught at Skidmore in upstate New York for a number of years, I'll share some tales of my own. Let's join together in this time in our worship service. We enter into a period of silence in which we welcome the presence of others as they make themselves known to us in spirit. And we attend to the messages that arise out of that silence, or simply accept the silence that envelops us and feel the closeness of one another. Let us now enter into a period of our own quiet meditation. We'll conclude by singing Spirit of Light. A responsive reading is number 662 in the back of the hymnal, Strange and Foolish Walls. The years of all of us are short, our lives precarious. Yet we find time for bitterness, for petty treason and evasion. Here we are, all of us, all upon this planet, bound together in a common destiny. Kindred in this, each lighted by the same precarious, flickering flame of life. How does it happen that we are not kindred in all things else? Our hymn is number 352, Find a Stillness. It's a Transylvanian hymn. this time, we welcome your gifts for the good works of this congregation. Last Tuesday, Mardi Gras quietly came and went in this neck of the woods. Not quietly in Louisiana, of course. Following a day of revelry and racing across the countryside on horseback in rural Louisiana and towns like Eunice, if you ever get a chance to participate, as I have, in a Mardi Gras courrier, as it's referred to in French, where you go on horseback across the countryside and invade the farms of unsuspecting individuals, chase their chickens, make them play tricks, grab the chicken for a communal gumbo later that afternoon. But in rural Louisiana, it is largely Catholic country, and you may wonder at the sight of our Roman Catholic brothers and sisters wearing the sign of ashes on Ash Wednesday. What do those ashes mean? Dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. This is a very fundamental perception about ourselves, that we are dust. It's even echoed in the children's rhyme, ring around the rosies, a pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes. We all fall down. The Lenten season is traditionally a time for reflection, for penance, and preparations for the joy of Easter. And penance for many means the giving up of something very desirable. So my first wife, who was raised Roman Catholic, once chose to give up burnt toast for Lent. But one of the more important and deeper elements of our faith is that faith and our Unitarian Universalist sense of community enables us to find the courage to live with pain and loss. And several years ago, there was an article by a woman named Dorothy Hunter in the religious journal, The Christian Century, and it was entitled, "In the Desert." Dorothy Hunter began her article by saying that when she was a little girl, she used to sing the hymn, "In the Garden." Now, many Protestant Christian children sang this in their Sunday schools. I won't sing it, but here are the words. I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ears, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, no other has ever known. Now, for many Unitarian Universalists here this morning, that hymn may no longer be theologically relevant. Perhaps it was never relevant. But each week when I scout out appropriate hymns for the theme of Sunday's worship service, I come across a few in the hymnal, some interesting old-time religion hymns, not necessarily like the gospel blues of blind Willie Johnson, who is singing at 3 o'clock in the morning when death comes creeping in your room, you're gonna need somebody on your bond. But charming and a little bit funky hymns like In the Garden, the kind of hymns that I heard in the mountains of Appalachia near Harlan in eastern Kentucky when I traveled there to evaluate a juvenile correctional facility some time ago. Gospel hymns like Blessed Assurance, Standing on the Promises, Nothing But the Blood, Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow, no other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Those are the quiet ones. Southern gospel can go all the way to actually describing our glorious future in the world to come. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be when we all see Jesus. We'll sing and shout the victory. You travel in the South, turn on the radio, you'll hear what I mean. I don't mean to poke fun at these expressions of faith, however, because in fact, I do find them emotionally very powerful, even strongly moving. People who sing based on shape notes, a mode of a cappella singing in the South, where the notes have different shapes to indicate their pitch. They're not exactly where I am theologically or culturally, but still they touch me. They pull hard at my emotions. In some respects, they express where I might like to be religiously. I would like such a personal and straightforward relation with God. Perhaps their pull on me is why I can sing and play Cajun and Zydeco music as if it were my own, even though I'm not a rice farmer in Louisiana. But we have to admit there are many for whom the mention of titles like Son of God or taking walks in the garden with Jesus makes them cringe. For many, the idea in hymns like In the Garden are politically, theologically incorrect. We don't have some kind of intimate personal relationship with Jesus, as if Jesus were our private, special little friend. Only Southern women, when they get old and doddering, become prone to taking private little walks in the garden with Jesus. But getting back to our Christian writer, Dorothy Hunter. Even Dorothy Hunter herself writes, most of us experience more walks in deserts than we do in gardens. She goes on to say, we haven't decided to take a walk in the desert. We've been thrown there by some event that has torn out the center that gave our lives meaning and left us shattered without hope and in unbearable pain. The dictionary describes the desert as a dry, barren, sandy region naturally incapable of supporting almost any plant or animal life. And those of us who wander that empty wasteland belong to the vast company of the bereft, those who have lost that which held us together, defined us, made day-to-day living possible and often joyous. The losses are different, of course. For some, it is a person, a joy, a place. For some, the loss is physical, an illness or an injury that totally destroys a way of life. But all must learn to live in the desert. And all that we thought of as beauty is gone. We are left with a barren, colorless, unwelcoming landscape. Nothing in our lives has prepared us for living in the desert. We have none of the survival skills. All we have is God. For those whose faith is in a place where private talks with God is not theologically relevant, all that remains after a devastating loss is what at best might be called ultimate reality. For many, nothing may remain. For Dorothy Hunter, the desert was precipitated by the loss of her husband of 52 years. And the experience was devastating. From never being alone, now Dorothy was always alone. From having been the most important person in the world to someone else, she now became a nobody. Perhaps this was not literally true, but that is how she felt. From walking in the gardens of joy and delight, she now found herself in a desert alone with only her God. Well, in a desert, you must learn how to survive. And so Dorothy started to develop her survival skills, these emotional care packages that would keep her alive until she could get out of that desert experience. And her list of care packages is fascinating. The first one was what you could call the Count Your Blessings package. And in Dorothy's case, there were many blessings. 4 sons who offered love and support, her many friends. She had sufficient financial resources to provide for her needs, memories of 52 years of a committed marriage relationship. The list went on, but strangely, it left her humble and still racked with agonizing pain and hopelessness. The Count Your Blessings and Be Thankful care package didn't do the job, didn't work in the end. So the next of Dorothy's emotional care packages was the Pull Yourself Together package. With this second care package, Dorothy vowed to construct a new life alone that was coherent, responsible, a life that would be interesting, creative, and somewhat useful. And after 5 years, other people began to say, well, Dorothy has made such a wonderful adjustment to her husband's death. But Dorothy herself realized that beneath her well-admired Pull Yourself Together care package, there still remained the raging, searing pain of her husband's absence. The care packages, after all, were just veneer. The care packages didn't satisfy the pain. So what would Dorothy turn to next? Well, being a religious person, Dorothy next decided that she would turn to God. After all, wasn't this the universal care package for a believer? Dorothy was used to praying, studying, reading the Bible. But her agony, her pain reduced her prayer life to uttering, oh God, why hast thou forsaken me? She felt like Job crying out, why? Why did God not just take away her pain? Why couldn't God take her out of this miserable desert? But unlike Job's encounters with his friends, Dorothy found no answer, only the silence, only the silence. Then Dorothy Hunter had her own revelation. She realized that the silence was the answer. What answer? How could silence be an answer? Well, here are her words. The desert is now your home. All that you will ever have of beauty and joy you will find here. And so I live in a desert, still dry, barren, bleak, but no longer empty. I am surrounded by the bereft of the world. I am surrounded by the bereft of the world. Let that sit in your mind for a minute. Surrounded by the bereft of the world, God is here, bringing his gift of healing where pain never ends. That gift has made this desert a place where I find unexpected bits of food, pools of water, even an occasional flower of incredible beauty. The gift of healing, though the pain never ends. I'm surrounded by the bereft of the world. This message is so powerful for our lives. Because like the verse of children, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. It's still a desert, but it can be a desert of comfort. In the personal deserts of pain, I hear from friends who have suffered great loss, from members of my congregation, this congregation, from my own family, in my own life. I'm reminded about the care packages for survival I've recommended to myself and to others. My own version of supplying answers, my own versions of count your blessings, or just pull yourself together, or just ask God to end the pain. Care packages like that sounded like Joel Osteen. But we all discover that the desert cannot be changed into a garden, and yet it is a place where we find unexpected bits of food, pools of water, even an occasional flower of incredible beauty. The awareness that we are surrounded by the bereft of the world. What does that mean to us this morning? What are our own deserts? What are our own unexpected bits of food, pools of water, occasional flowers of incredible beauty? There is no cure for the soul in agony. There is only care. And that finally is what we can do for one another. To be present, fully present, living out our care and our love for one another. The Buddha had pointed this out when he said all life is dukkha, suffering. Meaning life is a desert experience because of our finitude, our limitations, including our selfish clinging to life itself. Jesus himself knew this in his own desert when he cried out, "Not my will be done, but thine." Those words connecting himself eternally with the cosmic reality of life and death. The prophet Isaiah knew this when he sang out, comfort ye, my people." All the wisdom of the world's religions at some point expresses this kind of desert reality in one way or another, telling us that there is a gift of healing in the desert, though the pain never ends. So I invite you to think with me about the desert of your life. The gift of healing you experience, although the pain does not end. The unexpected bits of food you have tasted in the desert. The pools of water you've looked into, have cupped in your hands, put to your mouth. And that occasional flower of incredible beauty you have seen, have bent over to touch, to smell, and to be refreshed by its fragrance. Well, practically speaking, how do we care for one another? What are the ways we can be present, fully present, giving out our care and our love for one another? Many of those are reactions to the tragedies that we see happening around us. I had, while I was certified as an EMT, had also been a member of the Bristol Norfolk County Critical Incident Stress Debriefing Team. This was largely for firefighters, sometimes for police who had experienced deep trauma in the course of their duty. And in doing that, I came to understand that reactions people have to sudden trauma or loss are shared. And that some of the feelings of anxiety people experience are quite normal ways of trying to deal with abnormal situations. That includes becoming preoccupied with the events, finding it difficult to think about other things. Thinking of that as natural. You're trying to absorb the enormity of something little by little at a pace you can handle. You may find yourself experiencing trouble remembering, concentrating. You may have common feelings of anxiety or fear or anger, especially early in the morning, numbness, withdrawal, sadness, helplessness. Your sleep is disturbed. Simply letting those feelings have their day, acknowledging them, that will help them pass on their own. But there are three simple things that I learned to suggest that I'll share with you. The first I've been giving, which is to give yourself permission to be distracted. And that helps you become tolerant of the ways of coping of others that differ from your own. Trying to have as much structure in your life as possible. Second, to simply take care of yourself physically. Eat food that's nourishing, get some sleep. But finally, and most important, talk with people. That helps you feel less isolated. It brings you into contact with those others who are bereft, and there is not one among us who at some point is not among the bereft of the world. Feeling less isolated makes you feel anxious. It's a kind of reality check on your own emotions. So at different points in our lives, we all share the desert with the bereft of the world. We share the gray mist of fears and unsettling anxieties with others who face the same fate. But we also share the fact that the very fears we experience are themselves our strength, our shared bond with one another. Perhaps that's what it means to say you're going to need somebody on your bond. Each of us has our own God, but we also have one another. In the face of another who cares may just be the best picture of God. Our final hymn is 352, Find a Stillness.
I'm thinking it's actually 18, what wondrous love.
Pardon me?
I said, I'm thinking actually it's 18, what wondrous love.
Oh, the number's wrong.
We did.
We did.
Oh, that's right.
We did go.
Good thinking. Pay attention.
18.
Number 18, What Wondrous Love. Should add that for those of you who peruse YouTube, there is a version of that hymn on in YouTube, sung by Chelsea Moon and backed up by the playing of the Franz brothers on guitar and dobro, and it's magnificent. So look for that. As we go out into the world after the service, I remind all of us that we are still in a state of uncertainty with regard to the health of our community. And so when you do go out in peace, be careful out there. I will enjoy your choral amen.
Thank you.